Hi everybody and welcome back. Today is day 9 of Inktober and I thought I'll just share with you guys my Inktober progress so far. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you've already seen these there. If not, you'll see it here today. So today is gonna be like a sketchbook tour of sorts from day 1 to day 9 of Inktober. Alright, so I think it's progressing well for me. I have been able to keep up. I haven't missed a day yet, which is good. Some days did get a little challenging and I was tired and you know, it was a little bit of a push. So let's just walk through it and I'll tell you how each day went and what I liked, did not like about the piece I did that day. So this was the very first day. You have even seen me ink this. This one I particularly liked. I think it went really well. So this is where I just introduced the bunny, the main character of the story. Next is, you also saw me ink this. It's my Inktober Day 2 video. If you haven't seen that, you can go back and look at the 2 videos. This is where I just kind of talk about, you know, who this bunny is and what he does most of the days, right? So kind of wanted to show him being bored at the farm, collecting carrots and putting them up in a stack. So I also liked this one. This one turned out pretty well, but the mistake I did was I wanted this specific page to be glowing and I forgot to use my masking fluid before I started to ink. So it kind of had a light wash already, which was kind of a bummer. So I had to later go back in there and use some white paint over it. So it doesn't have the best effect and it doesn't have the effect I would have liked it to have, but I think I still managed to make it work. This actually is one of the paintings that I liked. It turned out well. This is when he opens up the book, and this time I very specifically remembered to use the masking fluid and it came in so handy because of all these little glowing dots I wanted to have, and you know, the kind of intensity of glow I wanted to show coming from within the book. So it really helped with that. The one thing I'm actually realizing is if you can see the paper is kind of, you know, bending as I'm using ink on this, so that's not what I would have liked, but nevertheless it's okay. It's not too bad yet. I'll probably put all of these pages under a big stack of book and hopefully it'll flatten it out. Then the next is, so he enters into the book and then the next is what he sees once he enters. So at this point when I was working out the composition, this one kind of got a little too busy, and I was hoping, you know, if I ever get a chance to do this again, I'd probably rework on this one. But the idea was to show the grandness of the place. Right, so he enters through a small book, but the place inside is this really giant place with multiple books within there. So I kind of think the illusion of the book also kind of got lost when I started to ink it. You know, maybe having those little book arches, I don't know what they're called, but you know, these little triangle thingies on the side of the book, maybe that would make it look more like a book. So a few things, but I think you learn as you go, and this is probably not one of my most favorite pieces, but it's still okay. I'm also still having trouble making sure it does not bleed out. I mean, I can use the masking fluid and that would work pretty well, but I don't think that would give me a very clean border. But I'm guessing it's still better than this. I mean, it might be a little shaky, but it'll still look better than this. The other thing I want to try is maybe, you know, hold on to a ruler on the side and apply the masking fluid. I don't know if that's going to help or make it more smudgy, but we'll see. yeah, so this is not one of my most favorite, but nevertheless it was a little complicated. A lot was going on, so it's okay. It was just one of those days. The next was to show him kind of inside this environment now and start picking out pieces. So what I realized was, especially for this, was that if I also put in a lot of the background, and you'll see that I have done that for the next few images too, that if I put a lot of the background, it kind of takes away a little bit from the main character, which is why I kind of kept the background on the plainer side and focused on just this piece. And even when I started this out, I kind of had this whole thing here, more on the right hand side of the page, but then I realized that the illustration was kind of leading the eye outside the page instead of kind of, you know, bringing us back into this. So you know, sometimes you kind of put your drawing onto the paper and you step away and come back and you'll see the illustration with a different eye, and that kind of helps. So I try to do that most of the days, where I do my rough, you know, take a little break, maybe 5-10 minutes, do something else, come back, look at it again, and be like, what's working, what's not working, fix it. And even after I have transferred it to the paper, I kind of like to just step away and then come back. In this case, I think it did me good, because you know, when it was here, like I said, it was leading the view, the eye outside of the image, which is not what I was looking for. And I kind of like the negative space, you know, kind of gives a little breather. I mean, I know when you look at these just individually, this might feel a little empty, but I think when this whole thing will be a book, I'm also hoping to bind it. But anyway, so when you go through this as a book, it may probably give and work as a nice little breather in between, instead of having full page illustrations all the time. So this is where he's looking at the signboard and deciding what next to do and where to go. This is where I introduce the next character, which is Bubbles. So I contemplated a lot on what this next character would be like, who the character would be. So in the end, I decided to go with the baby elephant. So this is where he sees like a interesting signboard in the corner and walks towards it. And I wanted to add a little humor in a way to this bit. So this is where I just wanted to show, you know, that also show the character of Bubbles, like he's playful, he's funny, he's not a very boring character, right? Because the next page you'll see how his role is to be of a guide. He's gonna guide the bunny through the magical forest. So, you know, kind of show that Bubbles pops out and Pepper kind of takes a step back and, you know, falls off out of surprise. The next is where Bubbles goes and buys a ticket. He finally decides, he's convinced that that's where he wants to go, and he goes and purchases a ticket. So again, here a little bit of the negative space. I did consider having books like far in the background, but it was kind of just getting confusing. It didn't really make sense. So I decided to just kind of keep it limited to this. So the whole focus is just on these two for the moment. And this is for today, day 9, where Pepper gets a backpack. He is ready to go with Bubbles. He gets some other few supplies and he's ready to leave. So when I was writing the story, I was kind of contemplating if this part is really necessary, but I thought this is a big adventure, a big trip that Pepper's gonna take. I think it'd be nice if he had, you know, in the story, it would feel more concrete if he had something on him while he's taking this journey. So it's not just the ticket, but the other things that that Pepper would think he needs for the adventure. Because as the story progresses, you'll see that he uses these elements. So they're just not something to fill a page up with, but they're also part of the story as we move forward. So I guess so far it's going well. I like how it's going. Like I mentioned, some of the days they're not my favorite. They didn't really go as planned, but overall I'm very happy with you know, how my Inktober project is going. I'm excited to see what the next few days bring by. I do get very tired at the end of this because it's not just Inktober that I'm doing. I also have other projects going on in the background. But luckily I work from home right now, so that kind of gives me a little bit of freedom, in the sense, you know, I don't have to include travel time in my day, so that kind of saves up so much of my time and also energy. So yeah, so this is what I've been doing so far for Inktober. If you guys haven't yet come and joined me on Instagram, please come see me on Instagram. I post my Inktober sketches every day there, and I would love to have you all guys there. So thank you guys for watching the video today. Let me know what you think about Pepper and Bubbles and the story and my inking, and what you think about my whole Inktober project so far. I would love to know. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I'll probably have another video up this week of the process of inking of maybe one of the paintings. So I'll see you again very soon, and I hope you guys are keeping strong with your Inktober and having a great time. So thank you again, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.